So we call it a move on. So what do we understand from all of this? From the fact that even though we're in Golos and we can't really complete all the mitzvahs now, Mahu Inyan Mashiach. So what is the Inyan of Mashiach? Sheba levatel es matzav hagolos by Yisrael meshubadin l'machiyasayis. So there's the point. The whole Inyan of Mashiach, based on the fact of Halacha, is that he's going to nullify the Golos that we're in the fact where we are subservient to other nations. He's going to bring us back to the true emistika situation where we have the Machos of Hashem through Beis David. This is what the Navi tells us. It will be in that day, so says Hashem. Eshbar Omal al Tzavarecha, Oilem al Tzavarecha, Mesrasecha, Natei, Veloy Avdu Ba'Itzarim. So Hashem is going to break the yoke from upon our necks, and he's going to remove all the difficulties that we have, all the challenges. We will no longer be subservient to any strangers. And they will then serve Hashem, and they'll have the king, David, their king, who Hashem will appoint over us. Now, move on. So based on this, we'll understand. We have two inyanim here. Number one, number one, we will have once again the idea that we'll have the machos of Hashem will be begali. Number two, then as a result, all the mitzvahs will be practically fulfilled. So remember, we're talking about the inyan of Mashiach and Halacha and how that comes about. So these are the two inyanim, the spiritual connection that the king has with Bnei Yisrael as a representative of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And second of all, the fact that once we have a king and we're all in Eretz Yisrael, we are then able to fulfill all the mitzvahs. So with this preface, we can now understand the words of the Rambam at the beginning of Hilchos Melech Mashiach. Because when we look at how the Rambam writes about Mashiach, what does he say very specifically? Number one, you see, first of all, in the first words, he says that that Mashiach is going to be, it's going to return the Machos Beis David to how it was, to its first, right, to the first kingdom. And then Rambam continues. So we have Machot, we have David, and then what do we have? We build the Beis Hamikdash, and all the Jews are gathered into Eretz Yisrael. And then the Chayz we call Mishpatim, Biyama Kishahim Mekaidam. And then he says all the mitzvahs will come back the way they were. Like all the mitzvahs that are written in the Torah itself. So we see again very clearly in the Rambam two things. Number one, the first thing that we see the Rambam is writing here is that we'll have Machos Beis David again. So that's number one. The tafkid of Mashiach is to bring us back this Machos, this true Machos, which is through Beis David, and really is then for representing the Machos of Hashem. And then through that, and as a result of that, so the practical effect of having a king again is the fact that we will then be able to complete all the mitzvahs. And like the Rebbe explains, this is not just telling us the things that Mashiach will do, and what will happen in his time. This is actually the law. Because the Rebbe is telling us, because this is in Mishnah Torah in Hilchos Melachim, and specifically Hilchos Melech Mashiach, this is Halacha. The Halacha is that he's going to give us back Machos Beis David. So how is that expressed? How do we see that he's going to bring us back Machos Beis David? So it's practically expressed when he is able to build the Beis Hamikdash and gather all the Jewish people to Eretz Yisrael. And here we reach, therefore, the purpose, right? The intention of Mashiach coming. that we will be able to do all the mitzvahs as we did once in the past. Makriven karbanas, shmitim b'yavlis, kechol mitzvah more return. Be able to bring the karbanas, we able to do shmita and yovel, which we can't do unless all of the Israel are in Eretz Yisrael. All of her mitzvahs, all the mitzvahs of the Torah. Shezeh hakasher im kibbutz mitzvah Yisrael. Of course, to be able to do all of the mitzvahs is connected to the ingathering of the Jewish people. Kasher kol Yisrael yashiv ma'ad masam, when everybody is sitting settled in Eretz Yisrael, in their land. Klaimar kol hanyan mechaseim b'kiyum Torah mitzvahs mitzad zeh shechaser b'shleimus kol Yisrael u'beis hamikdash. So in other words, anything that we're lacking today, that we're not able to do in terms of Torah mitzvahs, because there's no, the entirety of the Jewish people living in Eretz Yisrael, we don't have a base of Mikdash. So Klolos Inyan Galus, and of course that's exactly what Galus is. The fact that we don't have a base of Mikdash and we're not all in Eretz Yisrael. So those will come to their completion in the time of Mashiach. And that's why the stress is that Mashiach is going to bring back Malchus Beis David and give us back all of our mitzvahs. So he brings us back to the completion of all the halachas and the mitzvahs that are in the Torah. Now the Rebbe adds to this, the Rebbe continues here and says there's really two main reasons that keeps us from fulfilling all of the mitzvahs while we're in Galus. In addition to the general idea that we're under the foreign governments. Number one, Churban HaMikdash, Azbit HaKarbanos. So we have, first of all, the fact that we have the destruction of the base of Mikdash, so we don't have Karbanos. Number two, Galus HaAretz, Azbit HaMitzvahs HaTluyisba, Abatla HaMitzvahs HaTluyisba, the Galus from Eretz Yisrael, so then we can't do the mitzvahs that rely on Eretz Yisrael. And that's why the return of all the mitzvahs to the Torah really is conditional on two things. Number one, the nice space of Mikdash, to build the base of Mikdash, and the Kabbah is to gather all the Jewish people back to Eretz Yisrael. This is what the Rambam is stressing in that particular halacha. Shemaina ba'halacha shu shisha and yanim amasudarim shleisha connected shleisha. If you look carefully at that halacha, you'll see that there are 6 concepts there, and they're like three parallel to 3. Shalish pu'ulais hamavias l'shalish tetzais. So the Rambam, if you look at it carefully, and that's how you can see in the way that it's highlighted in the Sefer here at the top with things that are bold. There's 3 main concepts, and there are 3 outcomes of those 3 things. Okay, so what are they? The Cholorashishna in Hakali. So first of all, we have the general concept that what Hazaras Machos David, that will have Machos Beis David again. And as a result of having Machos Beis David again, then we get all the mitzvahs. And then as a continuation, we have another 2 things. Building the base of Mikdash and gathering the Jewish people. So because we're going to build the base of Mikdash and all of us will be in Eretz Yisrael, that's why we'll be able to bring karbanos and be able to keep Shemitah and Yovel. By day calls a yachad, and then with all of this together, and then with all of that together, we then come to being able to complete all of the mitzvahs that are said in the Torah. So where we find Shakal HaPratim ShaRambam Hisker B'Halacha Zu, all of the details that the Rambam says in this particular halacha, they really are all around one main point. So they really are all about one main and only one point, and that is really setting the parameters of exactly what is Mashiach. That's the key point. That in halacha, it's got to be someone return of Beis David, and therefore being able to complete all of the mitzvahs. And that's why we find, as we continue on here, in terms of understanding how Mashiach will reveal himself. Varshal Rambam Behem Shachaper, I just say to his Galos Mashiach Basimanim Lefihem Mazhim Es Mashiach. So now, according to this, we'll understand later on in the same chapter why the Rambam says the order of how Mashiach is going to reveal himself and what are the signs that we are going to be able to identify Mashiach. And what are his words? We'll show you, right? The in Yamed Malcolm based on it. Koika B'Tara of Isaac, the mitzvah says, Fi, Tarship, Sa, Vishaval. So if we find someone who gets up, a king, and he's from Beis David, and he's well versed, he's very busy, he learns Torah and does the mitzvahs based on Torah Shabbat and Torah Shabbat. And he's someone who enforces, right? Forces, or you could say persuades, brings the Jewish people to go in the way of Torah and strengthens the breaches that have been made in Torah and fights the wars of Hashem. So then we have the Cheskes Mashiach. This is someone who could definitely be Mashiach. And if he did all of this and he was successful, and what do we mean successful? They actually did the final step, which was to build the base of Mikdash and to gather all the Jewish people. Then we know it's definitely Mashiach. So what do we see from all of this? That these signs are really, this is a chiddush in the source of the Rambam himself that he brought to light in Halacha. We don't find anywhere else before the Rambam where they talk about Mashiach in this way. So we have to look into this and see, why did the Rambam establish these particular simanim, saying that it's from Malchus Beis David and that he enforces the Torah mitzvahs, then we know, and then if he builds a base on Mikdash and really brings all the Jews back, then we know for sure it's Mashiach. But do Allah, he's scared Chunes and Safis shall not Mashiach. Why does the Rambam not bring in some other characteristics of Mashiach? Why does he not mention that as a way to identify Mashiach? Chacham Gadol, the Navi Gadol, that he should be very wise, that he should be a prophet. We find in Hilchos Tshuva, the Rambam does say that these are the character traits that Mashiach will have. So when he talks about identifying Mashiach, why does he not mention any of that? Now move on to now, according to what we've explained, we now understand why. Because when the Rambam here in the Halachas is actually setting the parameter about what Mashiach is about, that he's someone who's going to give us back Beis David and allow us to complete all the mitzvahs. So based on this purpose, so based on this, he establishes then further on in the chapter the signs that are going to testify to these actions and to this process of revelation of Mashiach. Shem kulam tzadim tachanes amudilites b'su acharzu b'shir slamatara achas. But these are really just all steps and all in a sense stations that bring us straight to the purpose. Shlem Torah mitzvahs, which is the complete Torah and mitzvahs. B'shem shenavi she'in yanayhu lahidi'enu dvarim ha'asik liyos ba'elam. And just like a navi, what is the whole point of a navi? A navi is supposed to let us know about things that are going to happen in the future. So we know that the test for a navi, because the purpose of a navi is to let us know about something that's going to happen. So the test to see if someone is a proper navi is that he says something that's going to happen, and his words actually come true. So too here with Mashiach. If his whole bantar is if the whole purpose is to bring us back to the point we'll be able to complete all the mitzvahs like they were before, but then we have to test him by that. That's how we will identify him. Like the words of the Rebbe. Comes the real test and sign, the true test and sign is like the Rambam says, someone who's going to come from Beis David, he's going to be well versed in Torah and going to be constantly learning Torah, doing the mitzvahs according to both Torah Shabbat and Torah Shabbat. Then who pile a shlemus kima mitzvahs eitz Yisrael. And so then, what does he practically? What does that mean? He does. That means practically, he's bringing the completion of this, of being able to fulfill these mitzvahs for the Jewish people. So he'll be able to enforce and bring Bnei Israel to go in the ways of Torah mitzvahs, to strengthen any breaches, and to fight the wars of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Because this idea of fighting the wars of Hashem is really, it's just a detail that brings us again to the idea of Shlemus Torah mitzvahs, because he removes anything that's blocking us from keeping Torah mitzvahs. Just that with all of this, we just know that's B'cheskas Shel Mashiach. Who maybe Shlemus came out Torah mitzvahs, but when he brings us to the practical side of it, so completely repel, in us, he actually does that. He actually is victorious over all the nations around him. The Kibbutz Israel, he actually does find the final things, building the base of Mikdash, gathering all the people. Then for sure we know definitely Mashiach. Because then, only then, can we actually have all the mitzvahs again. Hashlemus, the helpless Bekima mitzvahs. The shlemus of all the halachas and Bekima mitzvahs, or the halachas and Bekima mitzvahs in practical, in actuality. The Elam, my life of and all the other qualities of Mashiach. Shekinah, Chacham Gadol Navi, he'll be very great Chacham, he'll be a prophet, all the things that we talk about in Hilchos Tshuva. Kevin She'edim Noidos Ba'ayvin Yashar Le'inyan Ha'ikri, since they don't really apply straight to the main point, Shleimus HaMitzvahs, which is about having complete mitzvahs. That's why we don't actually have to mention them at all in the signs of Mashiach. Would someone else like to take on and read the Sikkim?
I don't mind.
Go ahead.
Rishki Mashi, I don't know. Okay, so this is the summary, right? The Sikkim.
Yeah.
B'machas Hashem. Yeah. B'machas Hashem al Yisrael shni inyanim. So there's two ideas in the kingship of Hashem. Kabbalas al machas shemayim hapnimis, like accepting the yoke of heaven in a like personal way. And as a continuation and result of this, Kabbalah's all actually fulfilling the mitzvahs in actuality. Melech Yisrael Shalamata miyatzeg esmachas Hashem al Yisrael v'gam bezeh shnei inyanim. So the Jewish king below is representing the kingship of Hashem over the Yidden, and also here there's these two inyanim. Sheidei Kabbalas machus shel Melech Yisrael mekablam ma'atzman es machas Hashem shehu miyatzeg. So when a Jew accepts upon himself a Jewish king, he's really accepting upon himself the kingship of Hashem, which this Jewish king represents. And what is the king like? What is his role? It's to encourage and what did you say? Enforce, right? That the Yidden should fulfill the Torah in actuality. So it's not about fulfilling what the king's command is, but it's about fulfilling the command of the king, Hashem, which he represents. The Rambam writes that the true Malchus, the main Malchus, is with David and his descendants, meaning that he is the true and eternal king for all generations, his family. And only through him is the kingship of Hashem over the Yidden revealed. But in the time of Galus, when the kingship of David is nullified, the kingship of Hashem over the Yidden is also not recognized. And there's no possibility for the Yidden to fulfill the 613 mitzvahs. And this is the idea of Mashiach, who comes to return the Malchus of David to the way it was before. And through him, through this kingship of Mashiach, all the mitzvahs are returned the way that they were before in the time of David HaMelech. Shlemas Malchus Hashem, which is the completion of Hashem's Malchus in this world, V'shlemas Kiyam Mishpatei Torah, and the completion of the fulfillment of all the mitzvahs of the Torah. So that's what a Jewish king is needed for, is to bring the Malchus of Hashem, and through that, the fulfillment of all the 613 mitzvahs. So,
Thank you.
Correct. There you go. And we finished chapter 2.
yeah, I guess the next part would be like, there's one page of some details, right? And then it goes to chapter 3.
Yes, exactly. So there'll be some Iyunim and then chapter 3. So perfect timing, because now we have to board.
Have a safe trip.
Yeah, safe trip. I'm so happy for
Have
you
a
that
safe
you're going to
trip.
be live
Thank
at
you.
the Kinnos. And for
Yeah.
everyone else who's going to be live at the Kinnos, and also for all of us who will be virtually. Hopefully we'll be live together in the third Beis HaMikdash finally with our Rabbi Rebbitzin, in
Amen.
Yerushalayim. So
Amen. Amen. Amen.
Amen.
Yeshukayach Rifki.
Amen.
Yeshukayach Sarah. Nice to see you. I'm glad you're feeling better. Have a safe
Baruch
trip.
Hashem.
Be
Thank
matzliach, and we'll bring Mashiach.
Yeah. Amen.
you. Amen.
Yeshukayach Ado.
Amen. Amen.
Yes, now.
Thank you.
Yeshua Melech.
thank you.
Thank you all. See you on the other end.
Yeah.